I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, I realize how not very funny at all it is. But I thought it was hilarious. Basically, it's the story of a joke that was just repeatedly hammered into the ground by the revelation of the misconceptions that were underpinning that joke. So basically, the guy is in the library, and he's researching it. It's got this person who's missing, and it says, and you can't really see their first name. I think it's obscured by another bit of paper, but it says Rip Son. And I'm like, hey, to the person next to me who happened to be my father, I'm like, hey, the good thing about that person is when they died, on their tomb, it would have said Rip Son, R.I.P. son, hilarious. But then I found out some problems, Luke. First,
Okay.
It's Betty Ripson, which means she's a girl, and therefore you couldn't say R.I.P. son. It wouldn't work. And then what got even worse is that it was actually R.I.P. Well, sorry, it was Rip Sum with an M.
Oh dear,
So,
oh dear.
yeah, I know. I mean, hilarious.
Oh god.
And that was, I mean, yeah. So you can tell why I didn't want it to be in the main thing. I wanted this to be up front. I wanted people, they'll be like, oh, I want to see these people's opinions on it, and this will be their introduction to it. Anyway, there we go.
Hopefully the actual pod will be much better.
Yeah, I think it kind of works as like I think we helped it by being a bit ironic about it,
Back up, chump, Biggie Smalls rips it quick and kicks it quick. You know how black niggas get. With the hoods, fatigues, with the boots, with trees. Flipping trees, making crazy G's. Hitting buckshots at niggas that open spots on the avenue. Take my loot and I'm bagging. Pimping hoes that drive Volvos and rodeos. Flash the roll, make them wet in they pantyhose. Damn, a nigga style is unorthodox, grip the clock. When I walk down the crowded block, just in case a nigga wanna act out, I just black out and blow the motherfucking back out. That's a real nigga for you.
Okay, shall we go?
Yeah, let's go. You mean like leave?
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out relatively recently at the cinema and see if they still hold up upon a second watch. I am your host, Michael, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, Luke, and we are continuing our Spooktober Spooktacular, looking at, hey, I don't have my Excel document up to tell me what my opinion is, looking at It, the remake, well, based, It, the clown film.
Clown
Luke,
film, yeah.
Why don't you tell us a thing or two about It, the clown film?
Certainly, Michael. So, It, also known as It Chapter 1, is a 2017 American super horror... Not super horror.
Super horror.
Super horror. Oh, God. Supernatural horror film. There we go. It's directed by Andy Muschietti, based on the 1986 novel of the same name by Stephen King. The screenplay is by Chase Palmer, Carrie Hook Onaga. I don't know how to say that name. Fukunaga, probably. That's probably it. And Gary Doberman. Stars a load of people who I'm not going to get into. We'll get into that later. Mostly just kids. It was released on the September 8th, 2017 in the United States. And do you want to have a go at the old budget, Michael?
I'm going to guess reasonably high. Probably higher than the two films so far. I'm quite confident about that. I think quite a bit higher. So the last films were like around the 3 million mark. I'm going to plant my flag in the sand and just say with full confidence, 15 million.
35 million.
Okay, that's good. I mean, to be honest, like my thoughts were kind of like I was thinking, it's just going to be higher, but you never can tell.
No, you can't, can you?
Horror films.
So the box office, how much did it make?
Oh, well, I'm going to guess it made quite a bit, even though I didn't see it for this review. I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to guess it made it couldn't have made that much because it was an R-rated film. So I'm going to guess it made maybe around the 100 million mark, but possibly I'm going to go towards the 200 million mark. So I'm thinking let's go 160.
Okay, Michael, so do you remember last week?
Yeah.
Your guess about It Follows?
That was way too high, wasn't it?
And I said it may be the worst guess you've ever made.
This is even worse.
I think this may be even worse, Michael. I think you've outdone yourself again. This is, I think, probably the worst guess you've ever done when guessing the box office for a movie.
Wow.
Do you want me to say?
Okay, tell me. I'm ready.
700 million.
Oh wow. Oh, that's crazy. I honestly I'm so shocked because I actually thought you were going to say it was lower. That's so
No.
crazy. So, all right.
Thing is, Michael, I'm also disappointed in you because we said when we were planning this before
We're going
we
to talk about
started this,
success.
we're going to talk about its success. So I was like, yeah, he's definitely going to get kind of close to it.
No, not even because I mean, so the thing that got me is I was thinking in my head this was R-rated, and obviously Deadpool did really well, and that was R-rated. But usually R-rated films they don't do great.
No,
So,
you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what, Luke? I mean, we've got to talk about success now because I'm surprised. I was thinking I was kind of thinking success relative because obviously the other two films we looked at made around 50 million, one of them substantially below. So wow, well done. 700 million.
That's a fucking lot, isn't it?
That is a lot. Wow, I can't even. Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Yeah. So I guess now the question comes to whether you liked it or not, Michael.
Yes, I did like this film. Did you?
I'm gonna say kinda through gritted teeth.
Do you remember what I said last week?
What did you say last week?
Last week I said that I was going to guess that this film would be worse than the other two films. I said something to the effect of, see, I know all of this because I edit the things so I listen to them. But yeah, I said I'm gonna say this right now, and maybe people will accuse me of being biased, but I think this was worse than the other two films. But I didn't I liked it, but I was more hesitant. I mean, I guess you can kind of tell by the fact I was slightly more hesitant.
Yeah.
With my I like it. Obviously, I didn't say. I mean, you said kinda. I eventually did say I liked it, but the fact that I was hesitant is relevant, Luke. It's relevant.
Yes.
It is relevant.
It is relevant.
Relevant to the name of the film we're watching.
So.
Which is It.
Yes, it's great. There's going to be many it puns over the course of the next however long we do this for, I reckon. Now, the plot. So basically, what it is about is this clown called Pennywise who is killing kids, and he kills one of the main characters' brother, and then the main character ain't happy about that, tries to look for the kid, and he and his friends get...
I like how you said unhappy about that.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oi, what are you up to?
It's just a bit...
You're out of order."
No. Yeah. I may have underestimated his feelings. But yeah, so basically it scares them along the way as they try to find out what happened to their brother, and all the characters go through something or other involving their parents or their grandparents. And yeah, at the end they eventually... Well, they don't kill him. I don't know. They just kind of make him hibernate, I guess, is how it ends, because he comes every 27 years, I believe. That was the number. So.
Well, actually, Luke, they said if it comes back.
Oh, if it comes back.
Yeah. So I'm sure the fact that the film's called Chapter 1.
Will there be a Chapter 2? Who knows?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, nitpicks now, right? How many you got, Luke?
I got 3.
You know what, Luke? I got 5. So.
Okay, so I guess I'm going first then.
Yes.
So my first nitpick. Okay, so it was right at the start of this movie. I was trying to work out what was happening with these kids. So I believe all the main characters, like Bill and I can't remember. What are they called? One's called Eddie, one's called Richie.
I know Richie.
There's Ben.
What's the fat one's name?
Ben.
Okay, that one's okay.
Yeah.
Is one of them called Michael?
No, I don't think so.
I thought the black one was called Michael.
Oh, maybe. Well, he's barely in it, so.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think might actually be right.
It's kind of weird because I actually don't really notice when people have the same name as me, but I feel like maybe subconsciously in my head, I noticed that because his name's Michael. But I think completely. That would be embarrassing.
Yeah, there's also Beverly or whatever. But basically, these kids are about 12 years old. Okay. But
yeah.
So obviously in America, the school system is, I believe, between 11 and 14 is middle school. Between 14 and 18 is high school. So why did some of these bullies look like they're 16 years old?
Yeah.
They go to the same school. So
maybe no, never mind.
okay. So like one of the bullies literally drives a car, and I believe the legal age in America when it comes to driving across most states is 16 years old. So and one of the bullies who gets killed is 15 years old. So what are these 15 and 16-year-olds doing in a middle school? Like that's
Cruising
what
for babes.
yeah. That's the thing. I was just so surprised by that.
Maybe. Okay, so I'm actually the thing that I said maybe and I said not. I'm not sure if this could work. So you know how kind of like you have sixth forms and high schools that are like together.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's possible that you would have, for example, a middle school and a high school that aren't necessarily the same school, but they're kind of like in the same area. So you can have like they're almost next door to each other in effect. I can imagine that. That's my only explanation, Luke.
Yeah. I don't know.
Or maybe it's more complicated. Maybe they have a weird system with school. I mean, to be honest, like having middle school, it just seems confusing.
Well, anyway, Michael. Basically, I was just confused right off the bat about how old are these kids going to be? Because one of the kids, the guy who gets killed, literally he could pass for like 18 years old, and he's bullying like these 12-year-olds. Like, what the fuck are you doing, man?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, my next nitpick is about Eddie's mom. So Eddie was the character who
had the stutter.
No, that's Bill.
Eddie was the character who was the guy who was a germaphobe.
Yes, a germaphobe. Used his inhaler. So his mother.
Imagine using an inhaler.
So he breaks his arm, and his mother, obviously she's upset about that, as one could imagine. But then when Bill says to her, "We were attacked," or "He was attacked," she just doesn't care. Like, she just is like, "Oh no, you're not playing with him anymore." I get like she doesn't maybe want Eddie playing with him because she's like probably a germaphobe as well. But like if one of your friends, one of the friends of your kids said, "Hey, this person was attacked," are you just going to ignore them? You're just going to like walk him into the car? Are you going to say, "Oh, who attacked him? Oh, who did this to my precious little Eddie?" No, it's just one of those things because the kids, nobody believes the kids. Like, the adults, they don't believe the kids about anything. And the kids are actually right.
Maybe it's a commentary on how millions of adults across the United States refuse to believe that kids were attacked by Brett Kavanaugh.
Brett Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Yeah, great.
Or, I see, the thing is, it doesn't work, because back in the day, some people used to be like, the Catholic Church wouldn't attack kids. But now everyone's kind of like, what are you going to do? It's the Catholic Church. What are you expecting?
Yeah, if you're signing up for the Catholic Church, that's a risk you got to take.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like they were basically asking for it by fraternizing with the Catholics.
Okay. Last one. This is a very simple one, Michael. Very disappointed it wasn't included in the movie. Where is the gangbang? Where is it? I was waiting for it and it never came. Literally.
Yes,
like all these sex jokes throughout the movie and just no gangbang. What's going on here?
I don't know. I mean, I guess like at some point I feel like it's probably to do with the Catholic Church. At some point during the 90s, people decided that like child sexuality wasn't okay.
Yeah, it's just at some point
being joked about. Yeah. At some point they were like, Well, like, I mean, how like back in the past people used to like get married when they were 12. Well, the 90s was in the past.
Mm. Yeah, good point.
Logically, it must follow.
Oh yeah, I was just very disappointed, Michael. Just very disappointed. And obviously, Stephen King, when he wrote this, I mean, that guy must have been like on some drugs. Just some.
Yeah. Is Stephen King still alive?
Yes, he is still alive. He regularly goes at Trump on Twitter.
I saw like, I don't know, I felt like I saw him in the news recently, and I thought like maybe he's dead, because usually when you see someone in the news, it's like, they're dead. Yeah.
But no, he's still at it. I just, when I heard about that, I thought it was a joke, like the gangbang at the end of it. But no, it's actually not a joke. It's actually in the real book. So there you go. Those are all my nitpicks. So what do you got, Michael?
I said I had 5. It turns out I have 4.
Okay.
Which are
I'll forgive you.
So some really serious ones in here. First of all, why aren't they wearing Wellington boots in the sewer?
Who the fuck cares?
Because like that's what you do. You're going into the sewer with poo. And it's like it's kind of weird because you know how like you said Eddie is supposed to be a germaphobe.
Yes.
It's like the way they first choose to establish that he's a germaphobe is that he's like, hey, why are you doing walking in there? It's shit. And they're like, hey, you bozo, come on in. It's just shit. And I'm like, that doesn't really make him a germaphobe. I'd be like, I mean, really, just a basic level of forethought. Where are we going? The sewer. Okay, I guess I'll probably, not wear my Converse. They probably weren't wearing Converse, but they definitely weren't wearing sufficiently protective shoes.
Okay, what's your next one?
Next one. They left their bikes right in the middle of the road. I mean, like, seriously.
See, the thing is, your nitpicks aren't actually nitpicks of the film. They're just like stupid stuff the characters, or inconsiderate stuff the characters do when they're fucking kids.
You know what, actually, all of them are stupid things the characters do, because next one, well, this one's like ridiculous. The kid like drops the gun down, like he gets the gun and he literally just puts it on the side of or it's not the gun, it's the bullets.
Yeah, the bullets.
And he puts the bullets like on the side of the well, and they just fall off, and it's just like, what are you playing at, you fool?
Fucking idiot.
And then the final one is, and this one like bothered me so much, the amount they kept splitting up. Like, it was just like, this is basically the standard protocol for it. One of the characters hears a noise like, Eddie. And then what he does is, in the quietest voice in the world, he says, you guys hear that? Like, so none of them can even hear it. Like, they wouldn't even reasonably be expected to. It's just like, you guys hear that? And then you start aimlessly walking towards the noise. And then next thing you know, slam. And the stupid thing about it is that it seems to be the case that it will never attack somebody when they're with somebody else. I don't think that, I mean, it does I guess it happens like towards the end when they're all together, but pretty much like during the middle phases, it seems like whenever they're all in the same room, it runs away. It only ever goes after them when they're on their own. Just stop splitting up. And the amount they do it is just ridiculous. So basically it's kind of like a nitpick. It's like one nitpick, but it covers like 10 times in the film and it's literally the same time every single time. It's like you hear a whisper of their name and they go, you guys hear that? Hey, you guys over there, do you hear that? And then he just walks off. Morons.
Fucking morons, eh?
I actually saw, on the subject of Brexit, I saw a good tweet that was, Brexit is like when characters in horror films think it's a good idea to split up.
That is quite good.
Anyway, yeah. So now we move on to the plot.
Yes, the plot. Actually, should we do success first or plot first?
Yeah, let's do success. Okay. So
Okay.
this film made more than $160 million.
It did, Michael. It did. $700 million, and that was a lot. I remember at the time this was kind of a phenomenon, and obviously it was only a year ago it was released. I'm surprised it just adds to the mystery of why you were so far off, to be honest, considering it was only a year removed from.
It's kind of because I don't really know how much money is worth. You know, I just kind of assume like it's all just numbers to me.
Yeah, you're a politics man, not an economics man.
Imagine actually having $700 million. That's more than you get from winning the lottery.
Well, actually, Michael, today in South Carolina, somebody won $1.6 billion in the lottery.
Oh, but that's because America's got a bigger economy.
Okay, you talk about in the UK.
Yeah, I'm changing. Yeah. I'm moving the goalposts.
Ah, I see. Move the goalposts. That's clever. Yeah,
so
anyway, with the success, I think there's probably 1, 2, 3, and maybe a fourth reason why it was so successful. The first thing is...
Yeah, you're the one who's got this down, so I'm ready for this.
I got this down because I'm always fascinated as to why things outperform what they should do. Like, for example, Deadpool, it made like 800 million or something. It's like, how did that happen? And obviously we went through it.
Passion of the Christ.
Yeah, with it. Like, how come Passion of the Christ? Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd love to do that, actually. Whenever we do Passion of the Christ, that'll be very interesting to look at. But anyway...
Yeah, maybe you should start a video essay channel, and it's all about why the very specific circumstances. Problem is, Luke, you'd have to do a lot of research and also put in effort, and then what would happen is all of your effort wouldn't be rewarded because nobody would watch it, and then you would just fall into an existential crisis about why you bother with any of this. Or so I assume.
Yeah.
Anyway, tell me a reason why it's successful.
Okay, so first thing, Stranger Things, the very popular Netflix show Stranger Things. All about kids on bikes, investigating strange stuff.
That's true.
That was an absolute phenomenon, and this is very similar. You got kids on bikes in the 80s, of course, looking at mysterious stuff or trying to figure out very mysterious stuff, and it was what was popular back between 2016 and 2017. Because I don't know when Stranger Things came out. In fact, I looked it up, but I believe it was around that time. Yes. So yeah. Stranger
So
Things.
they got in on that Stranger Things hype.
Well, that's the thing. Like, they obviously planned it before Stranger Things came out, so they got kind of lucky that Stranger Things came out around that time, and people were invested again in these 1980s kids on bikes
Yeah,
kind of
that's
thing.
true. I mean, there is. I've heard it said there's a bit of an 80s throwback thing happening.
Well, yeah, that's the other reason. 80s nostalgia. It seems to be very popular in
Like
the last
the
couple of
classic
years.
Pixels.
Yeah, Pixels, of course. So I'm just looking here. The first season premiered on Netflix on July 15th, 2016. This is Stranger Things, obviously. It received
Yeah.
critical acclaim for its characterization, pacing, atmosphere, acting, soundtrack, directing, writing, fucking hell, and homages to 1980s genre films. And of course, this was it was set in the 80s, wasn't it? So I guess you could say it was an 80s film. So yeah, that's why it was one of the reasons why it was so successful. Stranger Things, the general 80s nostalgia that's been happening, and another reason, which I think I don't know how big a thing this is, but I'd like to investigate it further if I could, or if I wanted to. But I think it's the trailer. I don't know if you've seen the trailer. Have you?
I think I did.
Yeah. Well, I
No,
think
I
no,
didn't.
you didn't.
No, I specifically remember not seeing it.
Okay. Well, I believe the trailer kind of went viral. I just had a look before, and it's got 51 million views for a trailer for a horror movie. It's pretty decent, and that's just on Warner Brothers. There's like other trailers that have racked up like 12 million views. So the Warner Brothers channel trailer has got 51 million, and there's various other trailers which have, like I said, racked up like a dozen million when it comes to views. So yeah, I think overall the trailer was big. It went viral. People were very interested in it. It's like when the Godzilla trailer. Remember that came out back in 2014?
Yes,
I
I
always
do.
remember
I
it.
actually watched that. I remember everyone was falling out of a ship, in
Yeah.
a plane.
That was one of the best trailers I've ever seen. And this, again, was a very good trailer because it was just quite scary, which is obviously what you'd kind of expect for a horror movie, I guess, but it was very well done. And yeah, like I said, 51 million views. Also, the trailer, and indeed this movie, I believe it's very memeable. And I think that helps. It helps generate interest in the internet subculture. Like when they're in the garage at Bill's house, and you know the photograph, it changes to thingy. What's he called? Pennywise. Remember that?
Yeah.
Scene?
Yeah.
And obviously, the meme would be, it changes to something else, like another person instead of Pennywise. And I've seen stuff like that. Basically, it's very memeable as well. I don't know how much you can put the success of the film down to that, but yeah, certainly the 80s nostalgia of Stranger Things and the fact that the trailer went viral. It had a whole lot of hype around it as well, and that may have been because of the trailer, but yeah, generally that's why I think it was such a success.
Yeah. Is that all of them?
Yeah, that's all I got. If you've got any
Okay,
more
yeah.
reasons, feel
So,
free.
yeah. I feel like, with there are a lot of films that a lot of people know of, but they haven't actually seen. And I feel like that's probably the case for the 1990 It film. Because, I remember the reason I decided to watch that film was because I was like, you know what, I guess I should actually watch it. Because, it was one of those things where I was aware of it, and it was like, I don't know, there were loads of clips on YouTube from it, of, some of the bits with Pennywise the Clown doing his 1990s shenanigans. And I was like, you know what, I've been watching clips for so long, I'm just going to watch it. And I watched it. But the thing is, I feel like a lot of people, wouldn't have watched it, but they kind of it's one of those things where it's in the back of somebody's head. So then because of that, it's like, oh, I'm gonna
I
watch
remember
it.
that.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt
That famous Red Letter Media thing.
annoyingly,
Remember that?
Yeah. But annoyingly, I can't think of any other examples of the film like that. But I feel like there probably are.
Yeah.
Films that everyone's like, oh, I know that, but I've never seen it.
That's the thing with the 1990s It movies. It was like, they weren't that popular, but they were still around. It's not like a classic,
Yeah.
It in the 90s, so it's okay to do a remake of it. It's it's not going to get the
Yeah,
Ghostbusters
it's
treatment.
not like The Shining.
Yeah, if somebody remade The Shining today, or Ben-Hur, you'd just be like, oh, why the fuck are you remaking that?
Yeah.
Yeah. But with obviously It, that wasn't the case, and people are like, oh yeah, It, I remember that. That was a big part of my
Yeah.
childhood or whatever. Or maybe not a big part, but I remember seeing that in my childhood. And it was scary. Oh, the
Yeah.
trailer looks good. I'll go and see it. You know, Stranger Things is on. I like 80s nostalgia, and the whole all of these reasons produce that $700 million figure.
Yeah, I think it also is one of those films where like you want to see it remade because
Yeah.
you're like I feel like a lot of the films from the 90s is kind of just like the 90s was at that weird period. I don't know. I mean, we've spoken about like the 90s before and just like the general kind of I don't know. 90s was a strange time. It was a
was.
time of VHS. You had to. Oh no, someone didn't rewind this video back to the beginning after they finished watching it. Remember that?
I do. I actually
Uh,
do remember that. Yeah.
So yeah, like in the 90s, it was like they were trying to make good films, but they couldn't quite get it. Sometimes they got it really good, but like with kind of like I don't know fantasy adventure, because it's when you had things like the Xena warrior princess stuff. It was
Yeah.
almost like for some reason fantasy. You know what? Actually, I think fantasy's just always been bad. That's the problem. Until Lord of the Rings. So basically, what happened is Lord of the Rings happened and fantasy got good. But in the 90s, I guess what happened is this is my new theory. Okay,
Okay.
so you had the 60s, and in the 60s they couldn't really do fantasy or fantasy horror because they didn't have the special effects for it.
Yes.
And when they did do it, it's kind of like it was a bit camp and cheesy, but you sort of let them off. So you had things like Sinbad, the Golden Voyage of Sinbad, and it was a bit cheesy, but you were like, okay, it's fine. It's a white guy playing Sinbad, but it's fine. And then it got to the 1990s, and they were like, okay, now we've kind of got the special effects to do this. We can actually do fantasy and fantasy horror, so we're going to do it. But they still hadn't worked out. So I feel like in the 90s, the fantasy horror genre was still quite young, and they wouldn't really work out until later on. And that's why there are a lot of fantasy films that were made in that time that would be perfect to remake. Just find any film that's like, I mean, that's why people keep making Hercules films, because you
Yeah.
just can't get it right.
Fair enough.
The most ancient epics of all time, and they just can't make it into a good film.
Fair enough. So we've talked about the success of it. Now I think we should talk about the plot of it.
Yes.
So what do you want to get started with, Michael?
Yeah, I didn't have that much about the plot, but I guess first thing we should say as a general note, it's quite a. So it feels like kind of a quite conventional plot, with basic beats. We have an opening act which establishes our main character's motivation. Then we have him. It was actually I found this interesting. And it didn't quite happen like this, but when there were pretty much just a whole load of scenes that were each character having their own creepy experience, and it was kind of like they were completely disjointed from each other.
Yes.
But it was literally it was almost like a miniature anthology series where it was like you can imagine each one as kind of a short story, like the boy who goes into the library and he sees this headless mannequin coming down and blah blah. Like each of them, it was like just a short little scary story, and each character had one. And what do you think of that, Luke?
Yeah. So, well, I'll talk about the structure more in the scariness. But yeah, it was. You're right. It was kind of like a little short horror movie for each character, and then suddenly they all realize who's been terrorizing them, and they're like, okay, we got to stop this, because people are dying, and it's quite a simple plot, really.
They had the moment where they split up.
Yeah.
Like the gang. It's like he's not allowed to hang out with you anymore, and they kind of all go sort of their separate ways. Richie gets angry at them.
Yeah, the end of the second act when everybody's
and then
down.
they all band together.
They all band together at the end, like you're saying, they just defeat Pennywise because they're not scared of him anymore, and they actually feel sorry for him. No, they don't. I'm just making that bit up, but it's just kind of how it was.
Yes. Yes. So, I mean, what else have you got about the plot, Luke?
Well, here's the thing, Michael. I thought you were gonna, because this is what really pissed me off, and I'm not sure if it pissed you off. I was expecting it to piss you off because of
It might have.
how you went in detail over it last week. And this,
I think I might know what you're about to say.
go on.
Is it about them doing research?
No, it's not.
Oh, that's weird.
No, it's not.
Oh no, is it about? Okay, no. Tell me what it's about.
It's about the rules of Pennywise, or the rules in general.
You know what
related
I
to
mean?
Pennywise.
Yeah. All right. That is a good point. And one that I guess I'm going to try and defend myself against the charge of inconsistency. I guess it's because I don't know, Luke, to be honest, actually. I'm just going to let you complain about it and take my
Okay.
place. And I'm just going to say that for some reason I just wasn't thinking about it.
So the rules are not very clear when it comes to Pennywise. Like,
Actually, Luke, I want to interrupt you for 1 second. So I did write, they should do research before confronting it. That's the thing that I wrote, which I was going to mention. I didn't mention, but I was going to mention it. And that is kind of relevant in a way, because so obviously you're about to talk about the rules, and I guess I'm going to let you do that now. But I'm just saying, like, it's kind of like, you know how you were like, oh, I know what you're going to say, and I was like, oh, I'm surprised you didn't say this, and I was like, oh, is it about the fact they didn't research anything? And you were like, no, it's about the rules. Well, kind of the rules are related to them researching it. So really, in a way, I was right.
okay,
Continue.
okay. So, like I was saying, rules aren't very clear about Pennywise. Why he kills who he kills, or who he kills, who he goes after. Why is he a clown sometimes, and why is he not a clown sometimes? It just feels like the first hour he just scares the kids, like, just because he can. Like, he's meant to scare the kids and then eat them because that's how he survives, but he just is like, yeah, I'm just going to scare them for the hell of it. Like, there was the scene with Beverly where she wasn't scared at all, yet Pennywise picked on her and sprayed blood all over her bathroom for, like, no reason. It was just like, oh, she's fine, she's not in a bad state, she's not scared or anything, and he's just like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna pick on you for some reason. And he's like, oh, okay, why have you done that? I don't get it. It's just like,
Yeah.
I'd like some consistency here, please. So yeah, it was, and also he can change the pictures in fucking actual pictures. He can change them, that's pretty incredible if you think about it. Like, not only can he can actually change, like, pictures. He can transform into whatever, but he can actually fucking change pictures. That's just crazy. So yeah, I was getting a bit pissed off with him, like, and the rules around him. So it's established once every 27 years. He comes and kills a bunch of people because he needs to feed. It isn't random. He has, like, a pattern to him. So why does he just go off and scare people randomly like he does? And at the end as well, how does he get the bully on his side? So the bully kills his dad, which, okay, I can understand. Because
Yeah, I didn't get that.
the thing is, he doesn't like his dad, so he kills him.
I get why he could have done it. I don't get how he literally became a mindless drone.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, now he's somebody who's controlled by Pennywise. It's like, what the fuck? Why? Why? Yeah, and so at the end, it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, I had all the rules about him, and, I'm just done. Like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I think on a related note, like, a lot of the inconsistencies, funnily enough, relate to the bullies, and this isn't really a good segue because I still have some other things to say about his inconsistencies. But in particular, two things that I noticed when that bully dies in the sewer. There were two weird things. The first one is that he dies right away. It kind of takes me back to the It Follows criticism of how Greg dies right away, while the main character gets, several times when she's scared, and then she gets got. Obviously, if you're a lesser character, you just get got immediately. And in this case, the bully, everyone else gets scared. It could eat them, but it doesn't eat them. But in this case, he's just like, yeah, I'm going to eat you right away, bitch. So that's the other. And then the other thing is, okay, and I want to talk about this. He runs away from the evil it monster that's trying to eat him. He's in the sewer, okay? And he very obviously is running in a straight line or walking in a straight line. So he walks into the sewer and then he sees the zombie children and runs away. So I would assume the only logical explanation is that he is running out the way he came, seeing as he walked in, looked in front of him, saw an evil monster, ran back. But he gets back and there's a grating there. And this causes me to believe that it can literally alter reality, because he seems to run back the way he came, and yet he very obviously is not running back the way he came. And you might say, well, maybe he just ran a different way, but I think that it can alter reality. And there's another thing I need to talk about.
You think it can alter reality?
I think so. I think it can make a grating appear in a sewer.
Possibly.
But there's another thing that I wanted to talk about, which is something I was kind of thinking about, and I was actually possibly not even going to bring it up, but I think it's relevant now. So Stephen King's universe is a shared universe. It's a Marvel Cinematic Universe, if you will.
Really?
But the thing about it is, it's fiendishly complicated, because Stephen King is kind of like, into that weird cosmic horror thing that was pioneered by the likes of H.P. Lovecraft, where it's kind of like it's kind of like Marvel in a way. You know how Marvel's got the Infinity Stones and this entire like cosmic lore behind it that relates to the very foundations of the universe. A lot of people don't know this, but all of the Stephen King books exist in a universe where there is a similar cosmic lore, and it goes all the way back to the foundations of the universe. Now, having said that, I don't really understand it. But basically, what it is really complicated. And I know this because in the 1990s version, it is revealed to actually be a giant spider monster. And a lot of people, and I don't know, I must have seen reviews of it or something, but a lot of people, when reviewing the fact that it was a giant spider monster, were referring to how this portrayal of it as a giant spider monster is actually a very poor attempt to translate into the visual medium what it actually is within Stephen King's universe, which is some kind of deep primordial entity of chaos. So the point is, Luke, that it is really, really complicated, and none of that came across. I want to say that one of the reasons that doesn't really come across is because the 1990s tried to literalize the lore behind Stephen King's universe, and a lot of people just thought, well, that was weird. So I feel like I didn't explain it very well.
Yeah, now that's a good point. If you're spending time trying to get down to the details of the Stephen King lore and like, it's actually this entity which is, different to how it looks or whatever, and can create alternate realities, then it becomes like, okay, this isn't really a horror movie. This is kind of science fiction now. This is like not really, I'm not getting scared. It's like I'm watching, I don't know, maybe not Star Trek, but I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
Or Doctor Who.
I did just want to jump back to the whole thing I was really saying about how they should have done research, because
they should have, yes.
With It Follows, I was saying how a lot of the time what you have in horror films is a scene where the characters, they find out that it's Beelzebub or, some kind of ancient cosmic entity. And in this, the guy is actually doing research. The Fatty is doing research at the library or library, and he's doing research there already. So you would think, like, seeing as there is like when I was talking about It Follows, I was saying how there should be a backlog of previous cases. And in this case, we know there's a backlog of previous cases, and he already clearly has some knowledge. He's like the disappearance rates for adults in Derry, Maine, is more than 6 times as many as the average, and it's even higher for children. He doesn't say how high it is for children.
He just says much, much higher.
Yeah, much, much higher. But so the thing is, there's like, he clearly has some information. So you would think they'd be like, okay, well, let's actually kind of look into this just a bit, just see if there's any folklore around this area.
Because there should be, shouldn't there?
Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing is, like, when they confront it, it's like kind of hilarious, because it's like they literally confront it with no plan at all. And it's like just so ridiculous. They're just like, they don't even have. The second time they confront, so the first time they kind of go into the house, and
just wander around.
Crazy. Yeah, and literally they don't even have any weapons. The second time they confront it, I think they have like a pipe and like some blunt instruments and things like that. But I don't know. I mean, I kind of would have like enjoyed seeing like maybe a scene where they're gearing up and they're kind of like looking into, or maybe they're kind of like a scene where they're sort of covering all bases. So they get like some holy water, some salt, some like a crucifix, like general things that are believed to be capable of killing entities. And like, well, we don't know what it is, so we're just going to have to cover all bases. And then maybe they're putting on bicycle helmets as, defense and things like that. Like, preparing. I think that would have been quite fun.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, just going back to what you said before about how there must be some law on some backlog cases. You'd think if the kid is correct in saying that the disappearing or children disappearing or getting murdered is much, much higher than the national average, like possibly 10 or 20 times, then there'd be some sort of investigation going on. Like there'd be maybe the FBI getting involved, because if you have that many disappearances, particularly to a bunch of white people, it's, people are going to be like, well, what's going on here then? It's going to, I'm just saying, I think there should be more attention paid if that is the case, if the fat kid was telling the truth. And also, like, obviously, the clown Pennywise shows up and doesn't kill some of the kids, like, for example, Bill. And obviously, if he does that to Bill, this is what I'm talking about with his rules or whatever, on his consistency. Well, surely he must have done that in the past with other kids. So surely there should be a lot of instances of reports to the police involving clowns. Because that's the thing. I don't know why none of the kids bothered to report what they'd seen to the police either.
Yeah.
There you go. That's just another thing. All the adults
They could
won't
have had a
believe
scene
us.
where the police go, "The stupid kids. Who do you think you're fooling? Pranks? You
Yeah.
pranksters? Well, you're not fooling me."
When
Yeah,
there's
right.
like 20 kids that have been missing in the last year. It's like, oh, these kids telling all these stories about clowns chasing them and killing them.
Do you know what I
How-
like
how
actually? It's
ridiculous.
the episode of The Simpsons where they're eating the children in school, and the kids go home and they tell Marge, and she's like, "Kids, you're 8 and 10 years old. I can't be fighting all your battles for you. Now you march right into that school and say, 'Don't eat me.'" "Yes, Mom."
Yeah, maybe that. Yeah, obviously these Stephen King's books are mostly geared towards kids. So yeah, that's how obviously they adults would act. It's like, oh yeah, I don't believe you. Like if the kids did go to the police, they'd be like, "Clowns, you've been watching too many scary movies, kid," or whatever. Yeah, but I do think that if this happened in reality, that yes, there would be probably something like the FBI involved, and Pennywise, his existence would be well known, that there is a clown that goes around killing people.
Yeah, that's true.
If he does indeed show up and doesn't actually kill some kids like he did with Bill and Richie and people like that. So yeah. Did you want to talk about the bullies, by the way?
Yeah, I did. Well, I just wanted to say, like, I mean, they're sociopaths.
They are sociopaths, yeah. They're not
Like-
really bullies, they're more like criminals. See, what
Yeah.
they did to that fat kid, Ben, it's like they could probably go to jail for that. I mean, they're kids, so they'll be going to like juvie or whatever they call it. But yeah, that's pretty bad,
Yeah,
like stabbing
I mean-
somebody.
Yeah, also they try and kill a cat.
They do, yeah, but like,
Yeah.
yeah.
A cat was being really friendly to me today, Luke. I was cycling, and
Okay.
I was cycling through a little park, and a cat came along, and it went, "Oh, what? How's it going?" And I gave it a little stroke and
Where
said,
are you, in the fucking East End?
"Yeah." Basically, yeah. I feel like there was a theme in the. Well, first of all, let's just clarify the way high schools were portrayed. Like, I don't know. I don't really know when it stopped, but some point in the past, the way high schools were portrayed was absolutely ridiculous.
It stopped with
there's the
21
nerds.
Jump Street, Michael. I told
There
you
we
this
go,
last
yeah.
week.
Yeah,
Was it
you
last
did.
week?
Yeah, 21 Jump Street saves the day, but yeah, you had the nerds, and the nerds were really, really nerdy, and the bullies were really massive bullies. It's just stupid. And yeah, like, I feel like that is like a thing that happened. Like, people act as if that was what it was like in the 80s. Literally just, like, I don't know, yeah, I've seen, I can't think what it is, but I've seen other, especially horror films, where the bullies are literally murderers. I'm surprised not more of them died. Only one of them, or two of them died, but one of them died through really complicated brain control-y circumstances, which, well, the less said about that, the better.
And well, two of them died.
Yeah, so no, one of them died from the actually being
Pennywise.
killed by it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other one just died because he was killed by Michael, who may not be called Michael.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. And speaking of Michael, who may not be called Michael, nobody says the N-word in this version. So
What, did they do it in the original?
yeah, in the original, they are very racist towards the black kid. And I remember, well, the funny thing about it actually is there was an article about how the kid who played the bully, the main bully, in the 1990s version was such a cuck that he was very upset about having to call the black actor this word. And he, every single time that because you know how they shoot scenes several times,
Yeah.
every single time they shot that scene, he said sorry to him, like really profusely. He's like, "I'm so sorry. You know, I have to say it because it's in the script." And I think we can all
That's
agree
kind of
how-
hilarious.
Yeah. And then worst thing is he started working for Quentin Tarantino.
Really?
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why I said really. Obviously, that's a joke.
But yeah.
That would have been Tarantino's dream job. It's like he says like 3 times, and it's like, dude, the script only says you need to say it once. It's like, yeah, I'm just enthusiastic about this character. You know?
Yeah. But yeah. So no racism, and I think that's kind of because I don't know. I mean, people used to be okay with child gangbangs and portraying racism. It's kind of funny because obviously it's not like
Did
okay
they?
with racism. Yeah, everyone used to be okay with that back in the 90s. That's why they had all the child gangbangs and people saying racist things. But yeah, I don't think anyone's politically incorrect in this film.
No, yeah, that's a good point actually. I was thinking when the bully was taunting the black kid. Let's say, you know what, Michael? I'm just gonna
Doesn't he
search
say-
up his name.
Yeah, it's the search mark because, but yeah, there's a bit where they say like stay out of our town. They kind of like try and run him down. Yeah, they try
Yeah,
and
I
run
was
him
thinking,
over.
was that
So that's another of their
racist?
sociopaths.
Yeah, but I'm
But then
not.
later on, they call him the homeschool kid, as if the problem is he's homeschooled, not that he's. And also, I feel like if I were to think of like the classic person who homeschools, I would think of like an evangelical white Protestant. So, and this is why Jesus came down to earth in Super Bowl 40 and said, "There won't ever be no global warming."
You are right, by the way, Michael. His name is Mike Hanlon.
I'm so smart.
Do you know what the name of the actor who plays him is?
I'm going to guess it's Daniel Lewea.
Chosen Jacobs.
Chosen Jacobs. That's nice. You know what? Chosen
it?
isn't a bad name.
I
I mean, like,
I'm gonna
I'm
say
not
it
saying-
is.
Well, see, here's my thing. Okay,
That's gonna be my
like,
hot take.
like basically, we act like we're all superior because basically we're just doing the same thing. We're using proper nouns for our names, or not proper nouns. We're using regular nouns for our names, but it's in like a different language, so no one notices. Like, I bet Luke in Greek just means like dude.
Yeah, but chosen
Yeah.
doesn't just mean dude. Chosen is like this person's the chosen one.
Oh, do you know what Michael means in Hebrew?
No.
It means the one who is like God.
Oh, that's just ridiculous, isn't it?
I know, crazy. It comes from, well, here's a useful tip, Luke. El is the Hebrew word for God. So any name that ends in L, like Daniel or Michael or Raphael or Israel, is with reference to God. Israel, of course, means struggle with God, and is a reference to Jacob fighting God in the desert.
Oh, how they didn't like that Jesus was actually his son. You know,
Yeah.
they struggled with that.
Yeah, they did struggle with that, didn't they?
Yeah.
Classic. You tell you what, speaking of Pennywise,
I don't know what.
Jews are very wise with pennies.
You know what, Michael? That's clever. It's
Thank
clever.
you.
See, Pennywise is actually Jewish. Now it all
Yeah.
makes sense. Wow.
Uh,
Another
anyway,
anti-Semitic
and
joke.
also, he's a comedian.
Yeah, he is.
So that adds to it. He's definitely.
Yeah.
And like Krusty the Clown was Jewish.
Yeah, I guess so. It all adds up.
Yes. And also, final thing on the subject of The Simpsons, the girl who bullies Beverly sounds like the bully from The Simpsons. Not so. Do you remember the episode where Lisa Simpson is bullied by a new kid who's a bully, and she's like, "Shut up, nerd! You're a nerd." Basically, that's what this guy sound like. But the other thing is, like, Beverly's bully was kind of weirdly irrelevant. Like, it was just like there at the beginning, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be a thing," but it basically isn't.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, I'm pretty sure you don't just dump rubbish on somebody for no reason. Like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe she's a slut. Well, she says she's not, but those are the rumors. But, like,
Yeah.
you don't just dump rubbish on someone. So I'd like to know what the background is to that.
Yeah. Are you saying that maybe the bullies have a point? You know, I mean, we need to hear. To be honest, yeah.
We need to hear their side of the story. That's why they bully people, because no one listens to them, you know?
Well, according to the Simpsons episode, the actual reason is to do with sweat. They smell sweat, and it stimulates their bully neurons.
Yeah, makes sense.
So,
Anyway, do you want to do characters or scariness next?
I want to do characters because I feel like we should end on scariness.
Okay.
So I want to say a general point about characters. I really enjoyed the banter. I think I'm going to do a bit of a spoiler here, but the reason why I'm kind of hesitant about whether or not I like this film is because I think it was kind of lacking as a horror, as we'll get into. But I did enjoy it as like a kid adventure. Like, this film to me felt like just a scary version of The Goonies.
Yeah, that's a
Like,
good
it's
point.
just like, you know, like it was like the kids just having fun, and then it's
Having
like,
fun,
oh, yeah, I don't
running
know,
for
like,
their lives.
yeah, but it was like, I don't know, it felt like a very nostalgic kind of 80s film where it was just like everyone's back in the day when kids used to have fun in the summer before video games came and ruined everything.
Oh yeah, obviously. That's like the whole Stranger Things 80s nostalgia.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But are we going to do it by character?
Yeah, we are going to do it by
Right,
character.
do it.
So we got Jaden Libra as Bill Denbrough, the stuttering leader of the Losers Club, searching for his missing brother Georgie.
To be fair, like having a stutterer as your leader is really stupid.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I mean, I don't know. they should kind of do it according to people's abilities. So he could be, you know, the muscle. Um,
I'm gonna beat you up. Sorry.
Anyway, yeah. So I feel like a stutter is like, I don't know, it's just instantly endearing. Who doesn't like a stutter?
Yeah, that's a good point. It is instantly endearing, but the thing is with this guy, he's got no personality, which I think to be the leader of the group, that's something that you gotta have, I guess.
Yeah, I guess his thing is supposed to be that he's kind of like, I don't know, like has pretenses to being noble. I mean, I'm not necessarily noble, but he's like, I guess he's like the one who's like, we've got to take it out. He's like the person who motivates people. He's the proactive one.
You know who else was considered for the role of Bill? I mean, you're not gonna get it. So
I'm going to
just
guess Colin Firth.
Ty Simpkins
That
from
was
Jurassic World.
That was a King's Speech joke.
Oh right, that was actually good. Sorry,
Yeah,
I just completely went over my head.
Yeah, Ty Simpkins. Well, apparently, according to all the girls, Ty Simpkins is hot. Whereas I think
Who's all the girls?
It's like all the girls in YouTube comments.
Oh right.
So here's the thing, though. Okay, I appreciated their decision to not cast attractive people in these roles.
Yeah.
I mean, who's gonna? I mean, apart from obviously Bev. How old is the actress who plays Bev?
That's great. It's like, oh, she's attractive. Actually, before I say that, how old is she? Do you want to talk about Bev next? Since we moved on
Yeah,
to-
okay, let's talk about Bev. I guess she's an interesting character. I mean, like, it's kind of funny because her character's like, she's the girl. It's also quite funny because I feel like there is an idea that, like, girls who just hang out with guys are sluts.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't
well,
know.
I think that comes from jealousy from other girls.
Yeah, because
I
other
mean,
girls
I
wish
wouldn't
they
know.
could hang out with guys.
It's like girls. From what I've got from Twitter, girls hate other girls who say, "Oh, I just get on with guys better." Like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
no,
That
I've
seems to
seen
really
that
grind their
too.
gears.
Yeah, I saw there was like this thing on Twitter, and it was like in quotes, "I only hang out with guys because it's less drama," and then the picture is like somebody with like 10 hot dogs in their mouth.
Yeah, I think I've seen that as well.
Classic.
Okay.
But yeah, so she's like interesting, I guess, because well, like I say, the fact she's bullied isn't really relevant. Also, I guess I've got three things to say. The fact she's bullied isn't really relevant. Also,
Yeah.
she's being abused by her dad. Isn't that something?
She is, yes. So that right there is interesting because it's like
also,
because
there's another guy who's a pedo too.
yeah. I don't think he's necessarily a
Okay,
pedo.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't. Maybe
I'm
he is.
I'm using pedo in the kind of like just generally creepy sense. I don't think he's
No.
Pennywise the clown, but you know, he's kind of just like
He could just be like a goofy middle-aged dad who's like, oh, you know, oh, she said I look like Clark Kent. Oh, you look like Lois Lane. Aren't we having fun? Ha ha ha.
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he is a pedo. Maybe everyone's a pedo in Stephen King's world. Who knows?
It's locker room talk, Luke.
It's just locker room talk. Yeah, so the thing is about her being sexually abused, it's very interesting because I noticed something. The music, actually, when her dad walks into her room, or when her dad walks towards her, I can't remember when, is actually like the same music they use for Pennywise. And I don't think I've ever seen that like in a horror movie before, where one of the other characters is like also considered like a
villain.
A villain or a horror movie, apart from the main
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, that was
yeah.
interesting.
It's like a personal I mean, this could have just been a film about a girl who's got an abusive dad, but they threw a clown in there.
They did, didn't they? Yeah. So that makes this movie like I'm very glad they included that because it just makes it a bit like deeper, like the whole
Yeah.
movie. Like, oh, this girl's going through some trouble, and it's obviously other characters have had trouble. Like Eddie hates his mum. Well, I assume he hates his mum, and then Bill's lost his brother. But yeah, she's going through a particularly like bad time at home,
Yeah.
and that's something that other kids can relate to. Other kids can't really relate to their brother being killed by a omnipotent
monster.
clown. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that's what they can relate to, and yeah, it's good. I thought that was interesting. It elevated it above like
Yeah.
other horror movies, I think.
This film probably did really well amongst the core demographic of people whose dads were rapists and mums were germaphobes.
You see, yeah, I make a good point. Well, I think it's a good point, and you just fucking
No, yeah, I agree. No, it did. It gave them
Make a joke
more.
out of it.
It gave them
Okay.
sincere problems. It
It
gave
did.
them relatable problems, which meant that when they faced the fantasy problems, you could then take your sympathy that you built up for them with their relatable problems and apply it to their fights against the clown.
Yeah, killing
Name
Pennywise
again?
is
the clown.
that was just the metaphor for her killing her dad.
Yeah, she killed her dad, didn't she?
Yeah, she did kill her
Yeah.
dad. Yes,
I just,
you ain't getting caught
that's
from
kind of,
that.
yeah, that's kind of crazy. I mean, actually, to be honest, I do think it's kind of because I guess okay, I wasn't really paying attention, but I feel like she killed him with like the cover for a toilet. Like you've got the I don't know what it's called,
Yeah.
but the thing on the back of a toilet. And here's the thing, okay, I would notice if someone took that off. Like
Yeah.
I'm thinking I think that's what she killed him with the cover of the toilet thing. I don't know what it's actually called, the thing at the back of a toilet.
Fuck knows, Michael. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm not a
Let's call
toilet
it the septic tank, even though I don't think that's actually
Yeah.
what it is.
Anyway, I think we've got to talk about the title guy now.
Pennywise.
Pennywise the Dancing Clown, played by
Yeah.
Bill Skarsgård. Oh, by the way, just before we move on to him, the actress who plays Beverly is called Sophie Lillis, and she is 16 years old.
Oh God.
FBI, open up.
Yeah. Anyway, so Pennywise the Clown. I guess the problem with Pennywise the Clown is that we don't want to tread on our own feet with regards to scariness here.
Yes.
And obviously he's not really a human being, so it's kind of like it is a bit like. I guess okay. I want to compare him to the 1990s Pennywise the Clown.
Go for it.
1990s Pennywise the Clown was just having so much fun. That was the thing. Basically, there's like a bit where he just kind of walks into Eddie. In the 1990 version, walks into a library, and Pennywise the Clown is literally just like interrupting him. He's trying to have like a conversation with people, but like Pennywise the Clown is just like, "Hey, Eddie." He's like telling jokes. He starts like blowing a slide whistle. He's basically just distracting Eddie while Eddie's trying to talk to people because no one else can see Pennywise apart from Eddie.
That's
And
fun.
It's
That's
just
fun.
it's just like it's literally like he's not even trying to. I guess that's kind
He's
of the
just
main
trolling,
difference between-
basically.
Yeah, that's the main difference between this film and the 1990s film. The 1990s film, Pennywise wasn't actually that invested in scaring the kids. And the other thing, in the 1990s film, they don't have the whole thing of like it can only eat you if you're scared. Like in the 1990s film, it literally just eats you for no reason. But up until that point, it just kind of messes with you. It's just like telling jokes. It's got the classic line, which people only really know if they're familiar with the brand of tobacco Prince Albert. Have you got Prince Albert in a can? You do? Well then, you better let the poor guy out. Which of course doesn't really work because nobody really knows. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know if Prince Albert tobacco is still a thing. So
It's probably
I
not,
guess
Michael.
if you're the kind of person who rolls your own tobacco and goes to convenience stores to buy your own tobacco in a can, then you'd probably laugh at that joke.
Yeah. Pennywise, he's. I mean, that's the thing. I'm trying to say something without talking about how scary he is.
Yeah, I mean,
As it's pretty difficult. Lynn concluded that the character was similar to Heath Ledger's Joker. So there you go. There's something.
he's not as good as Heath Ledger's Joker.
No, he's
I
not.
mean, the thing is, it's kind of like he's inherently not as good because the thing that makes Heath Ledger's Joker very interesting is that he's a human being.
Yeah.
Like, if Heath Ledger's Joker was a supernatural being, then it wouldn't be as interesting. That's kind of the problem. So I guess like in theory it's kind of similar, but not really.
Yeah. We'll move on. We'll talk about Pennywise more when it comes to. By the way, Bill Skarsgård did a good job. I think everybody. agrees with that.
Well, I watched it just so happened. I think this was completely coinky-denky. That there was a Jimmy Kimmel interview thing with what's his name? Which I get these Skarsgårds confused. What's his first name?
Bill,
Bill Skarsgård. That doesn't sound right.
doesn't it?
No, it sounds too British. All right, my name's Bill.
That's what. Well, who are you talking about?
I'm talking about Mr. Skarsgård who played Pennywise the Clown.
Yeah, Bill Skarsgård.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. He was doing a little interview and he was saying, "Yes, I loved playing Pennywise the Clown. It was very fun." Which is exactly what he sounds like.
Just like Dracula.
Yeah. Well, I was trying. I don't know. It's like really hard to do Swedish.
I think I read somewhere that the kids who were playing, the kids, weren't allowed to see Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise before the shoot because the director wanted him to scare them as much as possible, which I think is something that a lot of directors do. So it's not that special.
That is a classic. Screw him.
Classic.
Just stole the idea.
Yeah. We got Jeremy Ray Taylor as Ben Hanscorn. This is the fat kid.
All right.
who doesn't have any friends. He likes
And
reading
he's in
and
love with
researching.
Beverly.
Yes. He spends a lot of time in the library. He's also very overweight, which earns his place in the Losers Club. But
And he likes the Backstreet Boys. Is
Yes.
it Backstreet Boys or Boys to Men? I can't remember.
isn't it New Kids on the Block?
New Kids on the Block. There we go.
There we go. There are underlying facets that define him far more than his superficial appearance. Yeah, I guess so. That's the thing with him. Like, he's just he's you kind of need him in this movie, or you need somebody like him who's gonna research everything and like knows all the detail, knows all the facts. Because at the start I was thinking like because I'd seen a trailer and this person was rattling off like a load of facts about Derry and how 6 times the national average of adults go missing or whatever. I was like, well, who's going to say this in the movie? And there's like this fat kid comes along. It's like, oh right, yeah, he's going to be the one researching and saying that. So yeah, that solved that mystery. We talk about Sophie Lillis as Beverly Marsh, Finn Wolfhard as Richie Tozer, the speckled best friend of Bill Denborough, whose loudmouth and foul language often gets him into trouble.
I liked Richie. A lot of people might say they thought he was annoying.
No, I loved Richie.
Yeah, Richie was great.
I loved him. Like he's got moxie, you know.
Yeah. The other thing about I'll let you finish your thought.
Nah, that's all I'm gonna say. He's got moxie.
You're gonna say yeah. So the other thing about Richie is in the 1990s version, one of the things I remember is that they used to say beep beep Richie, which meant be quiet Richie. Like they'd say it was kind of like, so he'd be talking about beep beep Richie, and it was like I don't know, it was kind of like a nice little thing because it was like. But the thing is, I was thinking to myself, they're not saying beep beep Richie, but then out of nowhere, Pennywise suddenly says beep beep Richie. Pennywise says it in this film, and you probably may not have noticed it because you weren't looking for it. But I heard him say it, and I was like, hey, that's a reference. So yeah, basically, Richie, he's so. I'll say one thing about Richie. He kind of reminded me of like whenever the Coen brothers write kids, which they very rarely do. But for example, in Serious Man, where they have the Jewish kids at the Jewish school. And like the way the kids talk, and it's kind of like a lot of swearing, and which is kind of how kids do talk. It felt like reminded me of that, which means it must be good.
By the way, Wolfhard, that's a great last name.
It is, yeah.
Wolfhard.
It's like straight out of Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Chosen Jacobs. Well, we go from a great name in Finn Wolfhard to a shit name in Chosen Jacobs. As Mike Hanlon, an African American homeschool student and outsider. So this guy isn't really in the movie that much. He's in there for like 5 minutes. I was thinking that when there was like 7 white characters who all, get the. I think there's about 7 who get all the attention, and there's just black guy who's just there. Like, oh yeah, he's there too. Yeah.
Oh wait, I meant to mention something about Bev, because you just reminded me of how this film arguably is like not that socially conscious with the black person not having any character, but also Bev, like basically they make sure that you know that she's not really a slut, and it's kind of like the implication is, well, if she was really a slut, then obviously it'd be fine to bully her, but she's not actually a slut, guys, don't worry. I just thought I wanted to mention that because I said I had 3 things to talk about Bev, and I got sidetracked with the incestual abuse thing. And I didn't get to mention how the film basically is like, no, don't worry, she's not actually a slut, guys. It's just rumors.
Yeah, so, Wyatt... Yeah, and we're not going to talk about Chosen Jacobs anymore. Wyatt Oleff as Stan Uris, a Jewish...
Okay.
Sorry?
I wrote down Stan is like the irrelevant character. Basically, he has... It's kind of weird, because he's got one of the scenes at the beginning of like, I'm scared. But also, side note, I love the bit where he says like that he was attacked by a woman, and Richie's first question is, was she hot? But yeah, like Stan has like, it's kind of weird because they set up the whole thing, and they set up he's having his bar mitzvah and all that stuff. But then literally he doesn't, like, I would say he's actually possibly less irrelevant than Chosen Jacobs.
Ooh.
Because I don't know, like what does he do after his basic, after that first 5 minutes? It's like they set him up in the first 5 minutes, and then after that it's just like, I mean, at least Chosen Jacobs has the thing with like the gun. What's his actual name? Mike. At least Mike has the thing with the gun and like, I don't know, stuff like that. And he's got like his parents were killed in the fire. Stan, I can't even remember why it is that he's scared of that woman.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Just because he's
Stan.
He just doesn't like her. He's just like, we need to find something for Stan. Everybody's on their way out of the meeting. Like, oh, what are these various characters going to be scared of? So, oh wait, we need to do Stan. What's Stan going to be scared of? I don't know, like a picture on the wall? Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Come on, it's 5:30. Anyway, Dylan Glazer as Eddie Kasprak. Kasprak is the epitome of a hypochondriac, overly exaggerated by the immense number of objects in his medicine cabinet. A sickly boy who only feels truly well when he is with his friends. Aww. But his overbearing mother is the true source of his hypochondria.
Yeah. So, like, he has a character, but I guess you'd say it's kind of necessarily a bit of a one-dimensional one, because his character is like, it's kind of like, I guess he's scared, although he's not that scared considering how germophobic he is. Like, he's not that scared of Pennywise the Clown, but I don't know, he's quite scared of Pennywise the Clown, more so as in some of the other people. But yeah, his main thing is, like, he's scared of germs, which doesn't really come into play that much, apart from the fact that it's why he's scared of gross, sick people.
Yeah, I guess so. By the way, just want to let you know, Finn Wolfhard is also in Stranger Things. So
what a twist.
He's really looked out with this 1980s nostalgia craze that's going on. That's really made his career. So
well done him.
Yeah, good for him. We got Nicholas Hamilton as Henry Bowers. That's the young sociopath who's the bully.
Did you just say Nick Lewis Hamilton?
No, Nicholas Hamilton.
Oh.
That's actually, you know what? That's actually the name of Lewis Hamilton's brother. I believe his brother's called Nicholas.
That's funny.
That is
but
funny.
you know what? I wasn't even paying attention. Who does he play?
He plays the bully, Henry Bowers.
Oh, I mean, yeah, like sociopath, and like, yeah, we don't really understand why it is that he basically becomes brainwashed.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, he's got some issues. Okay,
Yeah.
So I think we should now move on to the scariness.
Yes.
Yes.
So you know how, like, usually I have that thing where I'm like scared.
Yeah.
I was not scared of this, like, at all.
Yeah, Michael, I have to agree. There was one moment which I was scared. Well, there's a load of jump scares in this movie.
Yeah, I would say that I was kind of like, there was moments that were kind of.
Yeah.
There were moments that were, like, objectively scary, like you could tell it was being scary. What was the moment that scared you?
There was one moment, and it was a jump scare moment that scared me. It was after Beverly kills her dad.
Oh yeah.
And like then Pennywise basically just grabs her by the neck. Firstly, how did she not see him? But whatever. Secondly, like, also, why did he go for her? Yeah.
Unexpected.
Yeah. That's the thing. It wasn't expected, but why did he go for her randomly? Like, it's just, that's one of the things I was thinking about. It's like, okay, that is scary, but why? Why is he there?
Yeah.
Why?
Yes.
It's been a couple of months since. Why? I don't know, Michael. I don't know.
Yes. So my thoughts on scariness. I have a few things I liked. First of all, the brutality of the kid getting his arm bitten off.
Yeah, that was
just crazy. He gets his arm bitten off and he's like crawling away, bleeding from his arm, and it's like this 3-year-old kid. He's not actually 3.
Yeah, he's 7.
Yeah, but you know, he just gets taken away.
You have to respect that.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, it's kind of crazy, because you know, you can't kill kids usually.
No,
you can't kill kids in Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, well, there aren't any kids in Grand Theft Auto.
I know.
So
it's so
pretty hard to kill.
upsetting.
Yeah, I think the thing is with this movie, it just wasn't that scary, and that could be because Pennywise itself isn't that scary. Like, once you see him in the trailer,
yeah,
like, it's just like, oh no, he's just not that scary anymore. I think you get less and less scared of him every time you see him, or he becomes less and less scary every time you see him. Like, he's at the most, I'd say he's disturbing. Like, as far as I'd go. But yeah, I think that there's also I don't think maybe he's just not scary anyway, but there's also too much of him. So one of the reasons, I'm just going to talk about this in plot, but I thought I'd say the scariness, because I think changing those structure would have also aided the scariness of this movie. There is no mystery around Pennywise, because he shows up just too much. So the kids are like forced to investigate him rather than they do it on their own. And if they did it on their own, I think it would be scary, because then they're exploring like maybe his house or whatever, and it's like, oh, is that Pennywise? Oh, but they've already seen him, like, and we've, as the audience, have seen him 5 times. So we don't know what he looks like, and it just makes it less scary. And it also makes sense from the plot structure as well, because it would have made, you know, basically him just turning up and scaring the kids, like we've said before, doesn't really make any sense. So I think showing him less at the beginning would have made the movie scary, and it would have made sense from a plot standpoint as well. Yeah, and also I think another thing that doesn't make him that scary is the way he like shapeshifts. Like, oh, now he's this leper, or now he's this painting on the wall. It's just like, it's not really that scary if like something is shapeshifting.
Yeah,
it just removes the impact of himself. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Pennywise.
Yeah, so I agree. Like, I kind of just thought like Pennywise, he almost seemed kind of like ridiculous. Like, and it was kind of like weird because it was like the first of all, he talks like a weirdo in the first scene. Like, he stops doing this as much, but he's like, "Okay, Georgie, come down here. Let's float down here, Georgie." Like, I don't know, he's just talking like some kind of strange person.
Yeah, it's like, it's not scary. It's just like weird.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I kind of just felt like ridiculous. Like,
yeah.
I mean, obviously I'm not saying that he's actually, I mean, I wouldn't hire him for my kid's birthday party, but he's not that scary.
I would.
The other thing is the original Pennywise, like it wasn't trying hard to be scary, whereas this, it kind of feels like it's trying to be scary.
Oh, this guy's a fucking tryhard when it comes to scary.
Like it's trying so hard to be scary. It's a bit like I'll say something I liked. I liked the TV in the background. I thought it was kind of like one of the things that I like, especially when it comes to clowns, which is why I like the 1989 Batman, is like evil things, but in like a funny way. Like things that you kind of like can slightly chuckle at, like in, of course, Batman 1989, when the Joker poisons all the makeup and all of the newscasters end up looking really ugly because they can't wear makeup. And you go, that's funny. But in this one, so I like the bit when several times, obviously it becomes really obvious with the bully, but there are a few times before that where the TV's on, and in the background it's kind of like a kid's show or something else, and they're like, "Hey, it looks like everyone floats down here. I can't wait to come down here." And it's like, it doesn't draw attention to it, but if you're like listening to what's on the TV, like it's like they'll have, and it's kind of like it's just regular TV, but they're talking about Pennywise stuff. So it's like they're watching the news, and it's like, "And don't worry, everybody floats down here." And I like that because I was like, it's kind of funny because it's just like the idea that he would literally just be messing with the TV to change people. And yeah, basically I did like that. Obviously it's not scary. It's just a fun, like,
yeah, it's nice. It's like, oh, that's good. That's a bit creepy.
But this is my essential problem with Pennywise. And it goes back to what I said about how they didn't do any research before confronting him. The problem is you can defeat him and at the same time be a complete moron. like basically the thing is they literally go looking for him, which already kind of makes them less scary because they're just like, "Hey, let's go find him," and they go looking for him without any plan. Like, I think probably I keep comparing this to It Follows, but the thing with It Follows, when it's kind of like it got less scary towards the end because of the swimming pool plan.
Yeah.
Because there's two things wrong with the swimming pool plan. Number one, they're waiting for it to come to them, and number two, their plan is kind of stupid. And both those things make the villain inherently less scary. This film was even worse because in It Follows, they're waiting for it to come to them, and their plan's kind of stupid. In this film, they're actively coming towards Pennywise, and they've got no plan at all. And yeah, like I say, it doesn't make it. Yeah, it just kind of means like you're like, well, it's almost fun.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the weird. It's like a double-edged sword because on the one hand, I think this film was quite fun, and that's kind of what I said about it being like, a slightly more scary version of the Goonies, and it's just being like kids having fun, and that does make it kind of enjoyable. The flip side to that is obviously it is not scary, and you can tell when I say something's not scary, it's not scary.
Oh, you can tell, yeah.
Because I was scared by The Descent, and I was not that scared by The Descent, but I was quite scared by It Follows. Not like insanely, but I was like, it was playing on my mind. It was that scary. This, I mean, the standard kind of measure for whether or not I'm scary is if when I go downstairs, whether or not I'm scary, whether or not I'm scared, is if I go downstairs and I'm making my chamomile tea late at night, does the film even cross my mind? If it crosses my mind, it's slightly scary. If it, plays on my mind, then it's probably very scary. So this one wasn't scary at all. Didn't even think about it. I was just making my chamomile tea, just in complete luxury.
In peace, yeah. I got some quotes from some critics that I think you and I would both agree with. So Michael Phillips of the Chicago Tribune noted that the film's diminishing returns of one jump scare after another, writing that nearly every scene begins and ends the same way with a slow build-up leading to a kawoomph sound effect. I don't think I did that properly, or kaboom maybe instead of kawoom.
I think it's supposed to be like the Inception noise, like
yeah. But yeah, that's basically it, isn't it? Like every scene, it's like, oh, there's a slow build-up, then it's a jump scare, It's a jump
Yeah.
scare, and like I said, one jump scare did get me because it was so unexpected, but the rest it was just like, yeah, I could tell this is
Yes.
coming. It wasn't that scary, and also, Pennywise himself wasn't actually that scary anyway. So Chris Nash Awati of Entertainment Weekly lauded the child actors, but wrote that the more we see Pennywise, the less scary he becomes, and that is something obviously I've said. I think you'd probably agree with that as well, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not actually that scary, this movie, just because of it's just using jump scares, and you see too much of Pennywise, and Pennywise himself isn't actually, as we've said, that scary. He's kind of ridiculous. Like, you watch that trailer more than once, and like the scene where he's running out of the also not running. What is he doing? He's in the basement, in Bill's basement, and he's like running quite fast out of the water towards him, and it just, instead of becoming scary, it just becomes funny because it's like just so ridiculous. So yeah, that's scariness there. But it's important to remember, Michael, that it's not a kids movie, but you can forgive the lack of scariness by saying Pennywise is just a manifestation of various a lot of the kids' fear. So like,
so basically that they've got shit taste when it comes to fear. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is, like, for example, we talked about Beverly before. Like, her dad, she's scared of her dad, and like killing her dad and killing Pennywise is kind of like the same thing. Like, she's getting past that fear, and it's the same with Eddie. He's getting past the fear of his mum, and yeah, it's just like, obviously kids when they're young, they're scared of a lot of things. So Pennywise could be just a manifestation of the various things that they're worried about in their young adolescence. Maybe I'm being too kind and using it as an excuse for how this movie wasn't actually that scary. And it's just more about it's more about a lesson. You know, it's more of a coming of age movie, and Pennywise is just there as a manifestation of those fears.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. Like, one of the things that I was kind of thinking to myself is like, this film is it's slightly too scary for, like, I think a child.
Yeah, no, well, they swear loads in it, which
that's the thing. Yeah, it's kind of weird to me. Like, it's weird to me that this film is R-rated.
Yeah, I was thinking,
like,
if they just didn't swear. Sorry, I was just going to say, if they just didn't swear, then it could probably have been a PG-13. Like, there was anything that bad about it, and maybe the dad sexually abusing his daughter, maybe that wouldn't have gone over too well. But
I guess we can say that, like, I mean, obviously, it kind of made it the kids feel more real that they swore. So I guess it's kind of good.
Yeah, I know. But yeah,
I guess here's the thing. I would probably say this film should really be watchable for a kid who is the age of the kids in this film.
Yeah.
So the kids are, I guess, like 12.
Yeah,
I would say, I'd say a 12-year-old should be able to watch this, and I guess they'd probably be more scared for some reason. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know what it is actually that makes people less scared when they get older. But whatever it is that makes people less scared when they get older. Like, I feel like, you know, obviously if you showed this to a 7-year-old, they'd probably be having nightmares about not weirdly enough, not nightmares about people swearing, but probably more nightmares about monster leopard men coming to kill them, or I don't know.
Yeah, but you know, I'm just saying that's how.
I know.
People they're like, you can only swear 2 times in a PG-13, but you know that monster eating kid, that's fine. Yeah, whatever. So I think we're done, Michael. Do you want to wrap up with a conclusion?
Yeah. So this film was, I would say, good as a film. I would say it was enjoyable, and it was pretty well made. And the characters were quite good. It was well shot. The structure was okay, pretty enjoyable. However, pretty much all of this worked to the detriment of how scary it was. Apart from the characters being entertaining, but the fact that it was structured in an entertaining way made it less scary. It was entertaining to see Pennywise show up in, you know, half a dozen different ways, doing all these sorts of different things and seeing kind of the kids' reactions.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know, it wasn't then scary afterwards. And likewise, the fact that the film was quite fun, it had quite a fun tone, was again entertaining, but made it less scary. So obviously we are reviewing these films for Halloween, and I would have to say, I mean, you know, if you're watching a film on Halloween to be scared, you really don't want to watch this film. Having said that, it was still a good film. I'm still going to go ahead and rate it just below, exactly below The Descent. So I'm just going to say, you know, and I think that's largely just because I would say depending on what you're on the mood for, it may be better. If you're in the mood for a film that isn't scary, then you probably want to watch this more than The Descent. But in terms of like what it was, I would say, yeah, it belongs there in my number 19 slot, just below The Descent.
Yeah, so for me, I think obviously this movie was very successful, so I was looking forward to seeing if it lived up to the supposed hype. Unfortunately, it did not. The plot, like you said, it was basically built for entertainment. It's like, oh, let's have Pennywise do this and do that, instead of, wait, wouldn't it make sense if like he didn't do all of this, and so the kids had to find him, because that would make it scarier and it would make more sense. And the rules surrounding Pennywise, like I said, I was getting pretty pissed off with that. It's like, wait, why is he here? Why is he killing this person? Why is he not killing this person? Like, what is he doing? And at the end I just gave up. He's not really that scary, Pennywise, unfortunately. And you are correct, Michael. If you want to watch a scary movie this Halloween, then sadly it isn't the movie for you. There are much scarier movies out there than it. And that's the thing. Like, when this movie was released last year, I remember a load of people like saying how scared they were of Pennywise.
I think some of it comes down to just like generic fear of clowns.
Yeah,
but that's not. I would say that's not a reason to like the film, because here's my analogy, Luke. You'll love this one. So I have what's called thalassophobia, which is fear of the deep ocean. And for me, the idea of somebody just being like in the deep ocean, in like
the middle of the Pacific.
Yeah, that's like terrifying to me. But if you had a film like that, I probably wouldn't want to watch it. But it doesn't make the film objectively scary. It just means that the film picked a particular phobia of mine. Or if you're scared of heights, if you're scared of heights, then one of those urban exploring videos that's on YouTube of like some Russian person climbing a crane that's 1,000 meters high, that's probably gonna scare you. But again, it's not a horror film.
Yeah, it's like the Battle of Britain. Watching a documentary on that. It's not a horror movie, is it? But yeah, I sadly just wasn't that scary, was it? That is a shame. I'm interested to see what Chapter 2 brings, just because I don't know how much scarier it's going to be. Hopefully it will be. I don't know how with Pennywise, because like we said, the more times you see Pennywise, the less scary he gets. So you're going to see him, once you start the second movie, you'd already seen him for a whole previous movie. So yeah, maybe it won't even be that scary, or as scary as this one.
I think there's a clown arc, which is clowns. At first, they were used to kind of symbolize innocence, and it was kind of like, so the same way like people find little kids scary. Like, so then what happened is people were like, well, if we take this innocent thing and we make it scary, then it will be even more scary. And then what happened is people started finding clowns scary because clowns only became associated with being scary. Yeah. And then they went down in popularity, except for as horror films. And then what happened is people got so used to, normal people, obviously there are still some people who are scared of clowns, but normal people are like, now it's like, oh, it's a clown, we've seen clowns before, but eventually I think we're gonna start seeing clowns on the TV, on morning TV, on your kids' morning TV. There's gonna be a clown like Krusty the Clown, and it's gonna become innocent again. And then eventually it will come back in a wave. Clowns will no longer be associated with being scary, and suddenly someone will be like, hey, what if we made them scary?
Yeah.
And that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about, like typical innocent things like clowns and children now being like, oh, scary. I wouldn't call them scary. I would say like they're creepy and disturbing. And that's as much as like I think clowns can be. They can just be a bit creepy. Like, oh, I'm not scared of that. It's just a bit off-putting. And actual fact, I remember last year, because this movie, like we said, it was very successful, there was reports of how clowns were going out of business or weren't getting as much money because of it. Oh yeah,
that was like a Saturday, like Good Morning Britain thing where it was like some clowns being interviewed. So funny.
It made me feel very yeah. Oh god, yeah. Well, there you go. So it not only not that scary a movie, but also bad for the clown business.
Yes.
Yeah, 1 out of 10. Now, but I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. Like you said, it's a very well-made movie. Like, the characters are interesting, some more than others. But it's just not that scary. So for a horror movie, you can't give it that high marks. So, yeah, 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I agree. Next week, we will be reviewing the last of our scary films, A Quiet Place. Which was released in 2018, ?
Yeah, it was. It's a very recent movie.
We've been catching up. We did The Descent To be honest, we should have really wait. It Follows with 2014. We didn't do this perfectly, Luke. We should have done a film 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. But whatever. So A Quiet Place, 2018 film about people who can't be loud. So join us then. And after at that point, it will be after Halloween, but it won't actually be that much after Halloween.
You know what,
So,
Michael? We might actually. Well, in a week's time, it is Halloween when we're recording this, so
Yeah, I know, yeah.
we could actually record it on Halloween.
Yeah, that would be crazy. Yeah, that's cool. That would be good point, and that will give me an excuse because I feel like this is what's going to happen. Okay.
Okay.
So because I'm not like a cool guy, my Halloween largely consists of going to. We've got these like neighbors. They're not really neighbors. They're kind of like neighbors around the block.
Yeah.
But they're like really into Halloween. It's kind of insane. Like you know how like people put up Christmas decorations and they get like really into it. They're the same but with Halloween decorations. Like they actually turn their entire like house into like a haunted house. Like the entire house. It looks completely abandoned when you walk past their house in like the late October time. They get really into it. So what usually happens is they go around their house, but then eventually, it just because they're kind of like middle-aged people and British, they can't help but binge drink. So throughout the evening, basically the whole thing just disintegrates into just everyone being incredibly drunk. So what will probably happen is I'll show up and I'll be like, hey guys, how's it going? Have some conversation. And I'll be like, yep, gotta go back now and talk. And I'll be like, oh boy, you're my best mate. And that'll be my Halloween.
That's great. Yeah, I don't think I'll be doing anything on Halloween.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. It's like the Halloween parties. They're more of an American thing, aren't they?
yeah, like I remember, like even at university, I feel like we went out once for Halloween. And
I think we went out twice.
Okay,
But I don't think we dressed up the second time.
Yes, yeah. Although I feel like I might have missed the second time actually, but
maybe.
I don't know because I don't know. But the important thing is we went out for Halloween. In fact, actually, I think what happened is the first time we went out for Halloween, I found it kind of just annoying. Like
in your costume.
Yeah, but also like there's this logic of like oh yeah, if everyone's going out, it's going to be absolutely crazy. But actually, when everyone goes out, it's just annoying because it takes you ages to get into anywhere. And once you get in there, it's completely packed and you can't move at all. So
It sounds
like really,
sounding so old, Michael.
well, you know what I mean. Like what I'm saying is basically, the best time to go out is just an average night.
Just a
Like,
Monday night in like
Well, the thing is,
March.
you don't want to go out like on a night where it's going to be dead.
Yeah.
So you don't want to do like I don't know. I can't think of a night that's definitely going to be dead.
Well,
There's a
Monday
Sunday
in
night.
March.
Sundays are never. Sundays are always dead because everyone's at church now. But for some reason, like nobody goes out on a Sunday. So
No,
you don't
they do in
want to-
reps though. Well, in York.
Oh yeah, I can't. Well, yeah, you're right. Okay. Well, I don't know. Wherever you live, if they have specific days for people to go out, then just do those days, but don't do them on special occasions.
Yeah.
That's some advice about
That's
going
top
out.
tip from Select and Reflect.
Somebody who doesn't drink.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So good stuff. And until next time, oh wait, no, Luke, you've got to say goodbye.
You took the lead then. You didn't have to. I was waiting for you to stop talking so I can.
I know, yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So thank you for listening to our review of It. We have been selecting and reflecting on it this week because it's nearly Halloween, and to finish off our Spooktober Spooktacular, next week we shall be doing A Quiet Place. So once again, thank you for listening. Who have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael.
And I've been Luke. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Right. So